Dr. Makoki, thanks for coming.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
With us. Tell us a little about yourself.
I come from Northern Ireland. That's the part of Ireland that comes under the British rule. I've lived there for, now I'm not going to tell you because then you'll be guessing my age. I started, I suppose, 50 years ago working with children who had special needs, particularly developmental disabilities, intellectual disability, for example. And then I began to be more and more interested into what our knowledge and learning that we develop in countries like Ireland, Britain, Europe, how can you share that with other parts of the world? Because there are more children with disabilities in the developing world, as we call it. 90% of them are actually in those developing countries. And yet 90% of the world's resources focused on people with disabilities is spent in the northern countries. I met up with Brian O'Toole, who was working here in Guyana, and I was very excited by the prospect that not only the work that we were doing in Africa, but could we also replicate that in another continent? And Guyana was an obvious choice. And what Brian was doing in Guyana was particularly unique. He was really working at raising up within communities leaders who could take responsibility for helping families through volunteer workers to show them that children with disability, there is hope.
You're talking about Dr.
Brian O'Toole.
From the School of the Nations.
You might know him from the School of the Nations. Yes. He's part Irish because his father was Irish, his mother was Iranian. He's been in Guyana now from 1979, so coming up 40 years. We were working both in the coastal areas as well as in the interior. And what we were trying to do was to show people through the medium of video the activities that they can be used to help the children's growth and development.
We helped Dr. O'Toole with a book that he has, and he introduced the book to us the last time we were there at the beginning of the conference.
It's a unique book in a number of different ways, Wendell. It's very much written with the people who have shared the experience with Brian. He's a humble man. He's not a person who's particularly out to take credit. So all through the pages, he recognizes the great strength there is in Guyanese people. We slept under the stars, which was a nice experience. But I remember waking up and looking up at the moon, and a big chunk of the moon was eaten away. I couldn't understand what was going on until we realized it was a lunar eclipse that was happening. So I was really doubly privileged then to see in the beautiful clear skies of Guyana a lunar eclipse, the first and only one I suspect I've seen.
How can your expertise benefit Guyanese?
Well, I fully agree with Dr. O'Toole on this. You certainly need to raise up educated leaders, and therefore giving people access to third-level education that is accessible to them where they are, that they don't have to go overseas to do that.
How has Guyanese been accepting or adapting to what you and Dr. O'Toole are offering? Do you find that there's any resistance to it? Is this a nice transition? How are we doing?
Well, I've been bowled over by how eager people are to learn and to acquire knowledge, not just for knowledge's sake, but also so that they can then take that learning back to their families and to their communities.
Dr. Roy, thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching Channel 2 Headline News. If you like this story, leave a like. We'd really appreciate it. Also, you can share your views and comments below. And if you really like what you see, hit the subscribe button for updates on all the news happening in Guyana.